Hey there, thanks for joining me again here on PT Bubbles. We are going to rebuild the transmission in the green machine, and I will actually be rebuilding two transmissions, and I'll put the best of both of those into this video for you. Hopefully give you the best camera angles, close-ups that I can. I didn't capture every step along the way, unfortunately, due to camera battery failing or whatever reason. Specifically some of the clearance measuring for the clutch packs. That's a tricky process. It took me a while to figure out how to do it right and how to measure it properly, because what I first started to do was to measure basically the wrong clearance. You know, you have to pressurize the input clutch with air, and those clutch packs, when you do that, they can move up and down, and you need to measure the clearance or the movement of the clutch pack as it is compressed. You know, as it squishes, that's got a smaller movement than when it relaxes and it opens up. Or, you know, you might be measuring the wrong, how should I say this, when you're trying to measure a certain clutch pack, you might be putting pressure into the wrong passage, and like it'll expand that clutch pack rather than compress. I was doing that type of thing. This was my first time I rebuilt a transmission. So anyway, some of that I didn't capture. So what I did is I put pages from the service manual that show the pictures on how to do that, to help with that and just show the process. Hopefully that's enough to give you the idea of what has to happen. I have actually gone through 3 4.1 TE transmissions in 2 PT Cruisers total. One died in a PT Cruiser, a 2001 PT Cruiser that I had purchased from somebody, and it had been out in a field for like a year, so I'm not too surprised that transmission failed, but it was rebuilt. It failed again, and then this transmission, original one in the green machine here, failed one day on the way back from work when I was driving. It was like 100 miles, and it was on the highway, and it stopped going into overdrive, and when I would give it a lot of gas, instead of kicking down and picking up speed, it actually lost power. So what you see in the video is a rebuild of both the turbo donor transmission, and that's the one that I put into the green machine after being rebuilt, and then I also rebuild the transmission that was originally in the green machine. They're both 4.1 TEs. They were both pretty much identical, even though one was on a turbo and one was on a naturally aspirated motor. And the upgrades that I did for this transmission took me a while to find. A lot of people will ask, how do I bulletproof the 4.1 TE? How can I beef it up? And it's hard to really find stuff. But I found a couple things I wanted to talk about. So for the rebuild, make sure you get your usual like seal, O-ring, gasket kit. You can get those in a lot of places. What I also found was, and this was off of Summit Racing website, Sonax accumulators, to replace all of the accumulators, OEM ones that are in the transmission. The Sonax ones are billet aluminum. They seal better, they're harder, so they're not as prone to breaking or leaking. So the accumulators was one upgrade you can do on the 4.1 TE. The solenoid switch valve in the valve body can be replaced with a hardened, oversized solenoid switch valve that you can get from Transgo. They sell a kit, and I'll talk about that later in the video when we get there. But I do that on both of the valve bodies, so you get to see it twice. And then there's the Rebastos Stage 1 Performance Clutch Pack, where you get the upgraded friction discs. They're made of a stronger material, I think it withstands more heat. And those friction discs, if you measure them, they are not thicker, but they are wider. You know, if you look at the ring, it's just slightly wider when I measured them. And I think that helps the friction discs just have more surface area in contact with the steel plates inside your clutch packs. So, you know, more grip, better shifting, you know, longer lifespan of the transmission. Other things to do when you rebuild your transmission, get yourself a new solenoid, and kind of the best one out there right now considered for the 41TE is the Borg Warner. Good reputation, just go with it. The solenoid switch on your transmission, and you can do that without rebuilding it. That's just an external switch. New input and output speed sensors. Also, you don't have to take the transmission apart. That's serviceable with it in the car. A new neutral safety switch, also called the range sensor. This is on the valve body, which you can also drop out the bottom of the transmission without removing it from the car. So a lot of this stuff, other than like the clutch plates, even that, you know, the Transgo kit, and one of the accumulators, the 2.4 accumulator, is in the valve body, which, like I was saying, you can drop down out of the transmission without removing it from the vehicle. So that a lot of this stuff you can do without doing like a full transmission rebuild. And I think that's it. So for all the upgrades that I did, the accumulators, the solenoid switch valve in the valve body with that Transgo kit, the Raybestos clutch pack upgrade, stage 1 performance, and all the electronics, input output sensor, solenoid switch, and the range sensor, the neutral switch, which is also on the valve body. Okay, so yes, that's what's going on with this video. It's long. Enjoy. I'll come back and talk about different sections as it goes, but just wanted to kick it off so you know what to expect. Hello again. So we're on to the input clutch, and I just wanted to say really quickly, I didn't completely disassemble the input clutch, along with a few other things like the oil pump, but we'll get there. But the input clutch, I didn't completely disassemble it because most of the parts would look good and they didn't need servicing. Things like bearings or certain springs, shafts that were through the clutch. I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but I didn't completely disassemble it. However, I did give you some pictures of pages in the service manual that show like exploded views of what those components look like completely disabled, in case you are going to do it, you're curious, you just want to see. And other than that, I just wanted to talk about checking the clearances in the input clutch, and then also when you start reassembling the transaxle and all of the plates, discs, and clutch assemblies that go in there. When it comes time to test those clearances, you will need a dial gauge if you're going to do that. You will need a pick and a flathead screwdriver to like lightly press on the discs to measure their clearance and travel. Now, one of the things you have to do is apply air pressure into the clutch assembly, the input clutch. And the tool that's recommended in the service manual is this tool right here, this funky looking guy. And you put the input clutch on the top, and then you have these hose connector. There's hose connectors, there's 3 of them. And they're labeled. This one is called over for the overdrive clutch assembly. This one is called reverse for the reverse clutch assembly, low reverse. And this one is called under for the underdrive. You just blow air into each of those 3 hoses one at a time to check as you go. And that, you know, those hoses, they just travel right up to this assembly here that the input clutch fits over. And I don't know if you can see, but there's little holes that are associated with each of those hoses. So air in air out, and that causes the clutch assembly to move as it does in the car when you're driving, and the transmission fluid is being pumped through and redirected and whatnot by the solenoids in the valve body. So the word to the wise is you don't need that tool. You can use the oil pump from your transmission. It does the exact same thing. You just put the input clutch assembly on the oil pump how it normally sits, and there are 3 holes that go into the passages that blow the air in the same way that this tool does. So, this tool is hard to find. I managed to find it on eBay, I think, and it's also expensive. You don't need it, not unless you're rebuilding like a bunch of transmissions, Chrysler, and you want to have the tool to do that. Otherwise, just use the oil pump. It's easy, and you already have it, and it works just the same. You'll get the same measurements. All right, it's time for the oil pump, and this is real quick and easy. All I mainly did was inspect things and measured them and checked the gap, which was good on this oil pump, on both the oil pumps actually, and in both transmissions. So very durable component, the oil pump. There was no issues. You know, they were within spec and everything on both these transmissions. I just replaced seals, you know, the ones that were easy to get to, and you know, even the seals, original ones, didn't look that bad, but I had a new set of them, so I replaced them, and that's it for the oil pump. There's the Sonax, I believe that's how you say it, accumulators, that I replaced all of the accumulators in the transmission with, and the original accumulators look like this. Now it says it might be plastic, the originals, maybe in older ones. This looks like this one is metal. Yeah, but the Sonax accumulators, which is the red one here, is supposedly better made. If I put them side by side, you can see I don't have the seals and the rings on the Sonax, but it's got 3 as opposed to 2 on the original. Okay, so that's supposed to help with the sealing, the seal, and the original seals it mentioned could be metal, as opposed to the material. It's more like gasket material that's on the Sonax, which supposedly seals better, doesn't have leak issues. If you look at the way they've cut the Sonax as well, it's got additional grooves here at the bottom. I think that is for lubrication, like letting more transmission fluid in there to have that accumulator be able to move in its spot easier, kind of in and out type of movement. So that's one of the upgrades I did. And actually, I wanted to read what the Sonax website says. I know you can find this. The part number for the kit that I got for the Sonax is 44894-01MK, in case you want to get it. And it says the Sonax billet accumulator pistons feature a stronger piston made from anodized billet aluminum with a dual seal design. Like I was saying, it has 3 instead of the 2. The OEM plastic accumulators are prone to breaking and have poor sealing qualities, and the metal rings currently offered with aftermarket accumulators also have issues with sealing. So my apologies, it's the aftermarket metal seals that apparently have issues, not original seals. Sonax pistons seals prevent piston to bore contact, and the D-rings vastly improve sealing compared to aftermarket steel rings. So that was one of the upgrades that I did for this transmission. Okay, the valve body. This was probably my most favorite part to work on, even though it looks pretty crazy once you open that thing and there's all the passages, and then you start taking out the solenoid switch valve, all the valves and the springs and stuff, and it's like, whoa, these are tiny parts, there's a lot of them, don't want to mess it up, so make sure you're keeping track of everything as you go. But you get to see this 2 times because I did rebuild 2 transmissions, and I wanted to show it a second time because I really didn't like the way the 2.4 accumulator went together in the first one that I did. I was using a C-clamp to try and squish it into place with the plate, the door that it goes behind, and it just didn't fit right, and I didn't like the way that it turned out. Still left it there so you can watch it for comparison and just kind of see what happened. But the second time you see that 2.4 accumulator being installed, it worked a lot smoother. It went right in like it was supposed to. I even feel like the original one didn't fully seat. So before I use or sell that transmission, depending on what I do with it, I would want to go in there and open that back up and just make sure that the 2.4 accumulator is definitely seated properly and moving easily. The solenoid switch valve. There's a upgrade kit you can get from a company called Transgo. They have a lot of really cool stuff. This is the box for the kit that I got, this kit upgrades the solenoid switch valve. Like I said, the part number on that is RFE, and I'll put this stuff in links for the video too, but here you go, RFE-SV420-WT. And the features and benefits of this, again, you can find this stuff on the websites, just reading it here for your benefit, is that the redesigned valve helps prevent sticking. There's it comes with the tool that you need, which is a reamer. You attach it to your drill, and you have to drill the solenoid switch valve larger. And this is the reamer tool that you have to use to do that. And it gives you specific instructions on how to do that drilling. You don't want to go too far. You don't want to move it around. You got to be real slow and careful. Use WD-40, nothing special to do it. So what does it do? It prevents sticking. It corrects, prevents, and reduces multiple codes on various models, such as overdrive clutch failure, no lockup, limp in mode, and then a list of codes that it apparently addresses: P1775, 1776, 0841, 0846, 0871, 0876, and 0988. You can get a kit that includes that reamer tool, which is what I got, because that reamer tool is specific. You can't get it separately. You can't get it elsewhere. It's Transgo specific tool. So get the kit that has the tool with it if you don't already have that tool from Transgo previously. It also, the kit includes hardened steel, the hardened steel solenoid switch valve, and 3 oversized hardened steel end plugs, and you replace the original ones with those oversized ones that you use the reamer to drill out. Okay, so that's that. A note about the Transgo kit, because I do that upgrade on both of the valve bodies as well. Make sure if you get that kit, you get the one with the reamer tool. You can get this kit with the tool and without. It is definitely more expensive with the tool. I looked just before I made this video, and I think it was $200 for the one with the tool, and it's quite a bit cheaper if you get the kit without the tool. But like I was saying, you can't get this tool anywhere else. So I think the idea is if you already have this tool, or you're building more than one, you're upgrading more than one valve body, you can get the kit without the tool and just one that has it. And you can reuse this tool. It's not a one-time only thing. It's made of hardened steel. It says in the paperwork, good for multiple uses. So make sure you order the Transgo kit with the tool, unless you already got it. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's been a long one, I know, so maybe take it a little bit at a time. I was trying to do a transmission rebuild like I was unable to find myself, which was pretty thorough, detailed, with good camera shots, and not footage that was either really far away from the transmission or that didn't really show me like snap rings up close and friction discs and steels being taken out and in order and all this. So hopefully that's what I accomplished for you, and thanks a lot for watching again. See you next time.